I don't remember anything that happened before in this book lol.
Hey, hello, and welcome. Hopefully, today we will stream more than 10 minutes. That's the goal for today. Hopefully, we will make it. I have high expectations that we will. Hello! Thank you so much, Makiek, for the Prime. Thank you, I appreciate it. It was a perfect comeback stream. I agree. It was very me. It is high bar to reach. I agree. Hello, Caleb in YouTube chat as well. Hello. And congratulations, Tack, on being first, of course. Oh my god. Congrats. So, people. I sat outside for 6 hours. I sat outside for 6 hours, and then I had someone help me bring the packages down into the cellar. So they're not in my apartment. I'm gonna need extra help for that. But it's since like it's a wardrobe, so it's not something that I'm like, oh, I need it now type of thing. So it's okay. Or like the storage cellar, whatever you call it. The storage. Several elderly neighbors were sacrificed. Are you gonna stream Shadow Slave again? No, I won't. I will not stream Shadow Slave again, but if you're interested, you can go to the Discord where I post my thoughts on every Shadow Slave chapter. So join the Discord server. We're back now with A Soldier's Life. Finally, after a long break. I was sick, I went to Sweden, I went to the beach, and now I'm home again, ready to read some more A Soldier's Life. And what happened last time? Makiek isn't the only one who doesn't remember. I remember that Eric was off with another legion, with another party, where there was an asshole guy who had an essence collector, and he's like, I will sacrifice anyone to get what I want, because I'm just that bitch. And then he got bitched, killed, a lot of other people got killed as well, Eric stole the essence collector, went back home, snagged a bed in the maid's room, ooh, and escaped with still having the essence collector. So now he's a little thief. No one knows about it, and no one should know about it, because it's epic. And that's basically where we left off, I think. We will see. But first I need to clean my glasses, I realize. I realize because the screen is white. And I see dots that are not supposed to be there. I also do that because I'm old enough now to get those things in my eyes when there's like black dots following my every move. And they're annoying. And then if you're lucky, you forget about them and then you don't see them anymore. Because I only have like 2. But fuck that shit. I knew someone that had it way earlier than me and I was like, oh, that sucks. And then one day I'm like, no! I see one! I'm cursed. But apparently it's very normal. Sure, not everyone gets them, lucky you, but majority, I think. At some point, it's not that annoying. I barely ever think about it. Just sometimes if I look at a white wall, I'm like, oh, a thing. There's a thing there that doesn't exist. Now it sounds more like I see demons. Which I do as well, but that's only when I look at a black wall. Ooh, no. Okay, getting out of hand. We should probably get started before something else happens and I have to stop. So if we're deep enough, I'm like, let's just finish, right? Correct. Demons. Right. Demons. Realize my Twitch chat isn't updating on my phone. I miss Sunny as well. But I read about him. I do read about him still. Post in the Discord. That I hope some people enjoy. Because it is a task. Enjoy your food. We will start reading. Boom. After I sniffle and drink. Okay, 7 a.m. Let's go. We can do this. I can do this. How long until I stutter? Place your bets. The first sentence? Probably. I haven't read aloud since last time I streamed. How do you do this? Everything visible. It is visible. Perfect. Chapter 36. The Praetorian Guard. When I woke, I was disoriented. I opened the blinds and it was still light outside. Was it the same day? Had I slept through the night and it was the following day? I sent the pillow back to storage and left to go to the privy. Larkin was in the kitchen, baking and preparing food. Ah, pretty boy. Did you come to help with dinner? Pretty boy. I figured I was going to get these comments about my shave and haircut for a while. Right. Okay. Although I already had a 5 o'clock shadow. No. Is it the same day that I returned? Yes. Constantine said to let you sleep the day away, now that you are groomed like a first citizen. He chuckled and tossed me a bun, fresh out of the oven. I bit into the sweet bun, stuffed with spinach, cheese, and egg. I burned my mouth a little. Classic. So I chewed slowly and took small bites. I just stood and ate as Larkin cooked. Can you get one of the 20-gallon casks in the larder and bring it up for dinner? Castile said we are celebrating our first undead legionnaire in the company. I frowned at the joke. I had learned there was real undead in this world. Animated skeletons, wraiths, liches, ghouls. Things that went bump into the night did go bump in the night, and they wanted to kill you. Undead usually resided in our near dungeons, but I heard an island in one of the great oceans was supposedly full of the creatures. I went down to the cellar and picked up the 200-pound cask. I was a little unsteady climbing the stairs, as it was freaking heavy. At the top of the steps, I rolled it on the floor. Was the sled cart broken? Larkin asked curiously when he saw me. Of course, there was a cart. It was a large 2-wheeled dolly that I had walked right past at the bottom of the stairs. Typically me if I don't get specific instructions. No, I felt like testing my strength, I said, and Larkin smirked. Where's Constantine? I'm surprised he hasn't come to wake me for training. Wasn't he gone last time? Like no one knew where he was? Out in the gardens. Not toward the orchards, the other side of the house. He was training out there. I heard we were done with swamp controls, but we're going to start doing night patrols in the city. Adrian has the duty assignments, Larkin said, tossing me another bun as I left. I deftly caught it one-handed and tossed it lightly while it cooled. The ballroom had a few men resting in it, and I got some whistles and catcalls. Well, screw them all. See if I would offer them a chance to use my barber's kit. Constantine was in the gardens and was training with Brutus and Flavius. I walked over to them, eating the bun. Damn. Power move. I have food. Hello, Inukuru. Welcome. Hello. Hello. I came to say hello. Well, hello. I'm here to say hello back. Okay, bye. Enjoy your disappearance. Ah. Into the void he goes. The two men from Doranda's company had cleaned up. They were even clean-shaven. It looked like Constantine was testing Brutus' spear skill and Flavius' sword skill. They paused to drink as I asked, "Are these the only two we took from the remains of Doranda's company?" Constantine barked. "These were the only two you recommended to Adrian. They trusted my opinion that much?" Brutus responded, "You're the reason we got stuck in this fiery abyss, Eric. I don't know if I can ever forgive you. Soft beds, noble's wine, fresh meat every meal. We're no longer friends." We clasped wrists. Flavius shook my wrist next. "Oh, friends." Constantine tossed me a wrapped spear. "Since you're all chummy, let's see you fight each other." Oh, I was outclassed. Brutus was an excellent spearman and used the shield well. Then I was paired against Flavius' sword and shield. I fared much better, and it was about even for killing blows. Of course, Flavius' specialization was the bow, not the sword. Constantine joined in, and we did some 2 versus 2 rotating partners. Constantine sometimes wielded a short sword and parrying dagger, or a short sword and a shield. The parrying dagger was deadly, as it could catch the spearhead and prevent you from pulling it back, giving Constantine an opening. Brutus fell victim just once, while I fell multiple times. We were called to dinner like kids from the playground when the sun was setting. Castile banging on the pans. Dinner's ready. No, it will be Lurkin, of course, not Castile. Oh my god, imagine Castile dropping to that level. Oof. No, Lurkin will be there. Pretty boys. It's food time. I had my fair share of bruises and slight limp, but the pain no longer bothered me. It was a constant part of my world now. Brutus and Flavius went ahead, and I had a chance to talk with Constantine. He said, "Glad you survived that mess. Heard about it from Del Mar. Just know Castile didn't think Durandus was that much of a fool. She sent you with him to evaluate the company for her, not almost get killed." I was a little taken aback by his defense of Castile. I didn't argue the point. Instead, I asked a burning question. Firth seems to know a lot about everything. How come he's not one of the lieutenants? We continued to pick up weapons in the plaza and store them, and Constantine did not respond for a while. Finally, he said, "That's because he is a spy. As am I." Huh? I can't tell if he's joking now. I stepped back and Constantine chuckled. "Not an enemy spy, you dullard." Well, that I understood. "He works for one of the Praetorian Guard. I do not know which one. I work for one as well." Damn, okay. He's actually a spy. Crazy. "So, you two are spying on Castile?" I asked uneasily. Everyone really trusts Eric, by the way. Holy. "Partly. We just make sure the mage commanders have the Empire's best interests in mind. Castile knows what we are." Oh, okay. "And so does most of the company." Okay. Now it sounds like they trust Eric the least. We finished with the weapons and he continued. "You would have found out eventually. Anyway, I'm thinking of recruiting you. The issue is that you're a foreigner. I'm not sure the woman I report to would accept you into her service." It was a lot to take in. It made sense that the Empire wanted to keep track of its most powerful assets. I was confused, but at least Constantine was talking. Who are the Praetorian Guard? The Emperor's most loyal servants and followers. Mages, warriors, merchants, nobles, and even some commoners, Constantine said. I sensed he was seeing if I was interested in becoming a spy agent or asset, or whatever he was. He continued. "The armies keep the border secure. We keep everything within the borders secure." Okay. The armies keep the border secure. We keep everything within the border secure. Now I got it. Okay, a bit slow there. A lot of this didn't make sense. The Apex essences that Castile handed out for one. I was hesitant to ask, but needed to know. I thought Apex essences were reserved for first citizens. That is what everyone keeps saying. Yet Castile and Durandus... True. You can only sell an Apex essence to a first citizen, according to the written law. It does not say anything about giving it away, though. That's why many in the Empire leave to join the Adventurers Guild. That way they can return to hunt for and ship essences to other guild halls outside of Desaya to sell. Is it Desire or Desia? Who knows? I had only heard of the Adventurers Guild and had never actually seen adventurers or one of their buildings. I guess the Empire preferred to use its legion companies in place of allowing adventurers within their borders. So, Castile wasn't breaking the law when she gave me the Apex essences in the dungeon. I returned to my primary confusion. Constantine shrugged. Mages have a lot of free reign. The Emperor needs to keep them happy. The mage companies of the Legion are the glue of the Empire. How many mage companies are there? I asked, extremely interested. You are awfully inquisitive this evening. Are you sure you're not a spy from a foreign land? He asked seriously before slapping me on my back and laughing. But he still didn't answer my question before we entered the dining hall to join everyone for dinner. The food and wine were copious, and I got saluted too many times to count about returning from the dead. They welcomed our 2 new members as well. The wine flowed freely, and the cask was emptied quickly. Adrian came up to give orders, and got a lot of booze for spoiling the mood. Being on night watch in the upper city was not going to be fun. Sleeping during the day and then walking the streets at night was going to be the new norm for the next few weeks. The Baron's advisor was moving more of his men to the lower city, as break-ins were on the rise, so we were covering the upper city for him. To maximize coverage, we would be working in teams of 4. My team, unsurprisingly, was Constantine, Felix, and Matteo. I had frequently been bunked with Felix and Matteo, and Constantine had taken a healthy interest in me, and now I knew the true reason why. Adrian finished announcing the patrols, but added, Eric, Brutus, and Flavius have tonight off, which was met by mock boos. They need their beauty rest and the time to see a barber. Some loud jeering erupted from the room. Since it looks like we'll be saving the city in the dark, start to get your sleep during the day. We will be adding blackout curtains to the ballroom. Oh, that's very nice. Because I was like, that's the worst. I don't have any blinds though. It's like you get used to it. But the start is rough. I doubted the wisdom of sending soldiers out after consuming alcohol. It was a little suspect from my viewpoint. They were dismissed with a call to gear up and sober up. Patrolling started in 2 hours. Damn. Sober up quick. I was already well rested, and I barricaded myself in my room. I had the glowstones, so I would no longer need the oil lamp for light. With my griffin pillow supporting my head, I got serious about working on the spell form for healing myself. Imprinting a spell form had a lot to do with intent, and I did not want a lesser form of the ability that only healed flesh. I wanted the healing spell form to be able to repair my organs and bones if needed. That's a bit more than just flesh. I trod carefully in my attempts to create the spell form for healing until I smelled the breakfast. I packed up and went to the kitchen and helped Lurkin by cooking a lot of bacon. Squads came in from patrol, blurry-eyed and hungry. Sometimes they grabbed food and left. Sometimes they told us about their night. Chasing burglars, escorting drunk nobles home, searching abandoned buildings, and primarily being visible to the people. That was the big reason we were patrolling. They wanted people to know that Legion men, the elite warriors of the Empire, were on the job. As they shuffled off, I helped Lurkin stage lunch, and then went to get in on the sleep during day, walk around in the dark schedule. Oh, okay, chapter over, yeah. Chapter 37. Midnight Patrol. Forcing myself to sleep in the morning, even in the dark room, is difficult. I had one of the best rooms in the villa temperature-wise, but I still could not get comfortable. I knew what the problem was. The stupid healing spell form. I wanted to learn it sooner rather than later. Even with what I had learned from Damien, I was having trouble feeling my way through the process. I considered if the resistance was just because I did not have enough space to add the spell form. It felt like squeezing a grapefruit through a hole meant for an orange. But, okay. Maybe that was a terrible analogy because now I was wondering if oranges were available on Decia. Perhaps if I counted oranges, I could fall asleep. Sure, Eric. Whatever you say. A loud knock woke me. I guess it worked. And Constantine's too joyful voice was on the other side. Dinner is in 15. We'll leave for patrol 15 after. Gear up. I sat up, confused. Had I slept the entire day? I had been exhausted. I checked behind my curtain to find that it was late evening outside. After cleaning, I started to strap on the armor. I decided to carry a short sword and dagger on my belt. As I walked into the foyer, Constantine was stretching. Good weapon choice. If we do have to chase anyone down tonight, draw the entire scabbard, not a blade. The last thing you want is to die by tripping and falling on your own sword. I worked to adjust the belt so I could pull the sheathed short sword out easily. Matteo and Felix showed up all smiles, having obviously slept well. Constantine nodded and walked, and we followed. We are on patrol in fours, so if we divide up, we can remain in pairs. Never go anywhere alone, always in pairs. Got it. Never leave your wingman, I quipped. Constantine gave me a hard look, trying to figure out the meaning of my words. Eric, you will be my wingman, he said with a smirk. We will patrol in a diamond formation. The point will scan forward, the right and left will scan their side. And the man in the rear will check behind them every minute. The explanation was for my benefit, as Matteo and Felix looked bored. I had already learned this in training, but paid rapt attention anyway. As we walked out into the city, I was the point on the diamond. Matteo to my left, Felix to my right, and Constantine behind me. Constantine talked the entire time, and the other two were bored, as they probably heard everything he was saying last night. Constantine taught his scouting and observation skills as we walked. He was an endless stream of knowledge. He talked about the structures, noting everything from the construction methods of building to what each shop sign indicated they sold inside. I assumed it was for my benefit, since I was not from the Empire. Whenever we met a civilian, we talked to them briefly and told them they were past curfew and to get home. After the interaction, Constantine quizzed us on the encounter. What they were wearing, their story, why they were out, their body language, and what we thought their true reason was for being out past curfew. Hello, JP! Welcome! It's been so long. Welcome to the reading. We back again. Happy to see you, as always. It was information overload, but extremely useful. All the mental exercises were taxing, and I was glad when we finally returned to the villa at first light. Lurkin had breakfast for us, and after eating a few servings and listening to others returning from patrols, I was ready for a long sleep. Of course, Constantine noted that I was to be at weapon practice after the midday meal. I secured my room, and instead of studying, I slept. Blame work, but hello. Well, I haven't been here either until now, so yay! Rule 1 of patrolling, everybody you talk to is lying. Yeah, Constantine's like, everyone could be a spy. I know, I'm a spy. Did you know I'm a spy? It's like, wow. I love that everyone knows that Constantine is a spy. Because he probably told everyone, did you know I'm actually a spy? Even to Castile, I'm spying on you even. Whoa. The following 8 days proceeded the same way. We patrolled at night and returned for breakfast and sleep. After lunch, we did weapons training and calisthenics. Calisthenics? I know what it is, but I don't know how to say it. Then I retreated to my room to study the healing spell form book. We started to have an informal dinner as a company just before the 4-person teams went on patrol. Never with any wine, but always with a weak ale. I remembered that weak ale had enough alcohol to kill bacteria, which is why it was so prevalent at meals. Prevalent? But I was uncertain if I remembered this fact correctly from a history of Earth. Constantine never talked about his side profession as a spy for one of the Praetorian Guard. Oh really? I was curious to ask how the Praetorian and Empire treated otherworlders these days. My best guess was it had been a few generations since an otherworlder arrival was public knowledge. A few hundred years had seemed to push it more into myth than fact. Talking with Linus at dinner, I learned of the possibility of how I managed to remain unnoticed. Linus knew a few tales of arrivals, and large groups were always arriving all at once. The First Legion was the largest arrival in recorded history, but there were others where dozens of people arrived at once. I didn't know what made my transportation to the world of Desia so unique, but I felt that keeping to myself was still my best course of action. I wondered how arriving in a land full of violent orcs might have gone for a group in the past, or appearing on the island of the undead. I had gotten extremely lucky, or something had guided my arrival. But why? I was nothing special. Definitely not hero material. What do you think of that? Constantine interrupted my internal thoughts. I looked left at the boarded up shop he was indicating. I didn't see anything at first. Then I noticed the bottom half of the panel had been moved, as evidenced by a small line of differential weathering on the door. Someone recently removed the board covering the bottom of the door and didn't place it back exactly the same, I commented first. Matteo asked Constantine, "Do we enter?" "Yes. We only enter if we suspect something is amiss. That is enough evidence." Cops. Matteo and Felix go to the back of the building and wait there in case someone runs. Eric, use your heavy dagger to pry the panel. I tried to be quiet as I worked. It was not difficult. I could have removed it with my fingers. I surmised it had been pried off many times prior. This was only the bottom half of the covering for the door. I could reach and test the handle, but the door was still locked. Constantine pushed me aside, and after just a few seconds, it clicked and swung inward. I whispered, "You have to show me how you did that." He did not respond, but indicated I should use my glowstone and go first into the shop. I ducked below the higher board with my short sword drawn and the glowstone in the other hand. My stone illuminated the shop, which appeared to be a clothing shop for women. It was a high-end shop located in the upper district. Constantine followed me inside and motioned for me to be quiet as he scanned the room. After a moment, he indicated faint tracks in the dust on the floor. They all led to the same doorway. Constantine whispered, "Basement. We will listen for sounds at the door. Walk slowly and do not make the floorboards creak." He had already continued into the shop, deadly silent. I tried my best not to make any noise, but for some reason, where Constantine seemed to weigh nothing and passed over the boards without a sound, every step I took had the floor give a squeak or groan. Constantine did not say anything as we reached the door. We listened for long minutes as the stuffiness and lingering day's humidity made sweat beads and drip from my face. Then we heard it. Very faint voices. They sounded far away. Constantine seemed to understand what was being said, and I just remained frozen, waiting for an order and trying to listen. I figured we were dealing with looters or squatters. After a good 10 minutes, Constantine leaned in close and said, "I will go first." He tapped my dagger. "Draw it. You will need it." I picked out at least 4 voices. I wanted to ask how he could have heard anything, but he reached for the door and opened it very slowly. He's a spy, didn't you know? There was sufficient light coming through the door to see the stairs clearly. With it 3 inches ajar, he paused, drew his own dagger, and carefully cut the string I had failed to notice. I guessed it was a tripwire for an alarm. He opened the door the rest of the way, and the voices were now much clearer to my ears. "How many men are in the lower city?" a husky, feminine voice asked. "We have 20 in the lower city and another 30 in the upper city," a male voice responded. "Have Oliver and his men arrived yet?" the husky voice asked. Constantine took a step onto the stairs and started to descend. "No. He might arrive tonight along the aqueduct route under invisibility," the same male replied. "Damn it! The march starts in the morning, and they'll lock down the city when they hear," the woman said angrily. "I need those men." Constantine was almost at the bottom of the steps, and I took my first step onto the stairs. I realized I was holding my breath and exhaled slowly as I took the next step. My third step caused the wooden stairs to whine softly under my weight. All talking stopped, and Constantine rushed his last 2 steps and turned left at the bottom of the stairs, toward the voices. I sped down as well and was going to follow him, but a man came from the right, chasing Constantine. Constantine was already fighting, so I assumed we had enemies here. I lunged the rest of the way, plunged my dagger into his neck, oh wow, and pushed him back the way he had come. I swore as I looked in the direction I had pushed the dying man. A half-dozen bedrolls were on the floor, and people were rising. I counted 3. I decided to tell Constantine why I was not at his back. I have 4 to the right. I only had 3 opponents left, but it sounded better. I waded into the room and stabbed a man in the throat. Wow, he really isn't like, who are you guys? Are these enemies? He's just like, I stabbed one in the neck and then I stabbed one in the throat. 0 questions asked, 0 like, okay. It was more of a lucky strike as I had aimed for his chest. I wrenched the sword loose, causing blood to spray. I briefly stared into the man's wide eyes as he grasped his throat and rolled away. By the spurts of blood, I had severed at least one of the carotid arteries. If he didn't have magical healing, then he was dead. Yeah, okay. The other 2 men were armed with long swords and eyeing their shields, leaning at the base of the wall. I wished we had gone and got Matteo and Felix before coming down here. Oh, they're not with us. Oh, I thought they were coming after Eric. I was matched against 2 skilled men with much longer blades than myself. My advantage was that I was wearing armor, and they had linens on. Ooh! Rule 2 of patrolling, stab first, ask questions later. Apparently. I decided not to risk fighting them. I tried to outline 2 small fist-sized blocks where both their hearts were. I could pull their hearts into my dimensional space and kill them, thus they were within 10 feet. I could only establish one region at a time, so I focused my effort on the most confident swordsman. He was within 10 feet, and I moved his heart to my storage. Wow. Do you understand how fucking OP that is? Got your heart. I got slight vertigo, letting me know my ether had just bottomed out from moving the small object. He screamed, clutched his chest, and collapsed in a smooth motion. Even though I was confused that I was out of ether from such a small object, I didn't hesitate to launch myself at the last man. His shock at seeing his companion fall without a blow quickly disappeared. His longsword cut the air as he turned his body into a fencing pose and edged toward the wall to retrieve his shield. I moved to cut off his route, but that was what he had expected. I was fooled as he moved quickly in the other direction in a lunge. I parried the thrusts, but he glanced off my chest piece, leaving a gash in the leather. He was already retreating by the time my short sword came at the opening. I only nicked his forearm, but a steady flow of blood started. He flexed his sword arm and winced. I had gotten some muscle on the cut. He considered his shield again, but then switched the long blade to his left hand instead. I could tell it was awkward and unpracticed in his other hand. I launched into my attack, and he defended while retreating. It gave me a chance to take the shield for myself. Ooh! I knew the fight was over. Constantine was still fighting, so I needed to help him by ending my fight quickly. I pressed with the shield. He tried to use his superior reach to score on my legs, but my speed allowed me to strike his chest before he retreated on a failing swing. My strike had parted the outer layer of the pectoral muscle. Sure, and he was wincing, just trying to hold his blade. I thought he would surrender, but he rushed me again. The sword attack was weak on my shield, and I hacked his neck on the side, certain it was a killing blow by the depth of my blade. I left him to bleed out. I stabbed the man whose heart I had taken in the throat on the way by the conceal how he died. But wait, I stabbed the man whose heart I had taken in the throat on the way by to conceal how he died. Right. Okay. He was stabbed in the throat. That's how he died. I didn't just take his heart. No. Okay. On the other side of the cellar was a stalemate between Constantine and a short woman. She had a buckler and a short sword. She had one wound, a gash in her upper shield arm. 2 dead men were on the floor. One had distinctly pointed ears, meaning he was the first elf I had laid my eyes on, and now he's dead. The other dead man was human. Any others? I asked as I joined Constantine's side. He looked at me, and I think he was surprised I was not wounded, or maybe that I was alive at all. Not in the cellar. We need this one alive. I believe she's the commander, he said. Her eyes narrowed. She looked resigned to her fate, but rather than surrender, she launched herself forward, tossing aside the buckler in an effort to distract Constantine. I only meant to parry her blade, but I killed her. But she impaled herself on my sword. Oh, okay, he did kill her. Well, she did. I awkwardly rushed my shield to protect my head from her final blow. Constantine aided me by hacking her swinging arm, killing the momentum of the blow. Damn. My blade pierced near enough to her heart to kill her. Shit, Constantine swore. The dwarf woman was dead. He started searching her body and, not finding what he wanted, started on the rest of the basement. Eric, see if there is any access to the sewers from this basement. They mentioned something about the sewers earlier. I walked the outer walls and checked the floor. The dead man's eyes seemed to follow me as I went and gave me the chills. I felt nothing. Eric, please. I felt nothing. Couldn't care less. Who are they even? I didn't even ask. I felt nothing for taking their lives, which surprised me. Me too. Maybe having been close to death a few times myself was numbing me to it. Wow. I returned to Constantine and reported. Nothing on the walls or floors that seemed to grant access. Troll shit, she said. Nearly 50 of them were in the city, but nothing to tell us where. He made a decision. Keep searching. I will post Matteo and Felix upstairs and get more men here. I have to tell Castile there are at least 43 men in the city, and more traveling along the aqueduct tonight under a spell. He quickly grabbed his weapons and swore as he stomped up the stairs. The Bardi Radians are already in the city. The Bardi Radians. Yeah. I was left alone with 7 corpses of the Bardi Radians army infiltrators. Bam, bam, bam. Based soldier. I felt nothing. Amazing. Chapter 38. Essence Thief. I was left in the basement as Constantine rushed up the stairs, yelling for Matteo and Felix. It wasn't long before the 2 men came down. Matteo looked at the carnage and said, Centaur shit. Constantine is a bloody monster. He addressed me. We are to get the front door completely open and wait in the street. Constantine said you should continue to look for clues on the whereabouts of the others in the city. They did a quick walkthrough of the basement before heading back upstairs. Wow, thanks guys. I could have told them that I had killed 5 of the 7, but I don't think they would have believed me. It was quiet and a bit spooky with the dead eyes of the soldiers in the basement. I had killed actual people. Oh, is he starting to care now? That should have shaken me. Nope. Or at least how easily I had left behind any hesitation. This brutality was my new reality. I counted the bedrolls, and there were 7 to match the 7 dead. When I searched the bedrolls, finding nothing in them. Then I searched the bedrolls, finding nothing in them. I covered the bodies with them because it seemed like the right thing to do. I tried pulling the essence collector from my storage, but my ether was insufficient and still recovering. I searched as ordered, but all they had down here were supplies and weapons. It looked like mostly food and casks of water. Strangely, there were no supplies that I would equate to being tailor's goods for sale upstairs. Maybe the owners did not use it for the business. I stopped thinking about it as I was no detective. But I did need to find out why my ether bottomed out when I took the man's heart. As I was thinking about it, I pulled the shields and weapons into a pile. I guess they would be sent to the Legion's Hall's armory, as they were good quality. Maybe I should search the bodies again? Constantine had done it quickly. I started with the elf, uncovering him. The ears were not too pronounced, but were pointed. Maybe a half-elf? His face was angular, and he looked on the thinner side. I searched his body and found 2 hidden knives, but his musculature looked somewhat frail. Were all elves this weak? Maybe he was a scout and not a fighter. I found a coin pouch, but that seemed odd to have on you when you invaded a city. Inside were 5 large coins, 1 gold, 2 silver, and 2 copper. Large coins were 10 times the value of small coins, so this was a sizable sum. They were all stamped with a 5-headed hydra on one side, and some writing that was not Latin on the other side. I could not read it. I wasn't sure how I felt about robbing the dead. I tucked the pouch into my pocket for now. He had jewelry on as well, 2 rings and 1 earring. I checked for runes but did not see any, so I assumed they were not magical. It reminded me I still had my magical pendant from the dungeon in my dimensional space that needed to be identified. I stood and looked at the dwarf woman next. She had tried to sacrifice herself to kill me. I checked again and had just enough ether to pull the essence collector from my dimensional storage. I debated the risk. What if others came, and I did not have enough ether to return it, and it was discovered? Was I even okay with harvesting dead people for essence? Well, you don't seem to care about them being dead at all, so... And how much ether did it take to activate the device? Was there even essence to take? It had been almost 20 minutes since they had been killed. How long did you have to harvest a corpse after killing it? Fuck it. Yeah, fuck it. I took the device out of my dimensional space and inspected it closely for the first time. I laughed aloud as it reminded me of the sterling silver plate the women won at Wimbledon. Why does he laugh? The runes were magical, and I could sense they had a purpose, even just holding the metal disc. I placed it on the chest of the dwarf woman and channeled my ether. It did not take much, just a kiss of ether to activate, and just a smooch. A light blue mist quickly pulled into the plates from the body, and a large orange orb formed. Damn, an apex essence of reasoning, if I remember correctly. The dwarf woman had been all corded muscle, and she gave a mental essence, not a physical one. I only hesitated for a moment before popping it into my mouth. Pop those essences. I got a brain freeze and felt dizzy. Karma. Vertigo caused me to trip on the body and fall. Karma. The floor felt like the safest place for the next minute as I bathed in the euphoric changes. Damn. Next time I consumed a mental essence, I would ensure I was sitting down. I guess that maybe it was 10 times more intense for me than others, since I was able to milk the essences I consumed for more power. Don't say milk the essences, that's... No. I covered the body and turned to the elf, then placed the collector on him and activated it. How much essence did you have? How much ether did you have? I mean, not essence. The same effect occurred, and a golf ball-sized sphere formed on the plate. The only problem was the ball was rich brown with swirls of gray and black. It had to be a magical apex affinity essence, but I didn't know which affinity. I could not consume a second essence so soon. Castile said to wait an hour between each, but maybe, with my spell form enhancing my gains, I should wait longer. Maybe an entire day. I pocketed the essence and moved, excited, onto the human male between the elf and the dwarf. I love how he goes from, I don't care that they're dead, I don't care that I killed them, I don't like looting people, this feels wrong, I don't like it at all, I don't like their dead eyes staring on me, but I'm excited to loot their bodies. For essence. Yes, another one, another corpse. Yippee! Eric. Oh. I placed the collector again. This time, a large marble formed from the blue smoke. It was dark purple, meaning it was a major essence of strength, one of the most common essences. I planned to go to the other side and collect more essence, but clear thuds of footsteps walked across the floor above me. My heart thudded, and I tried to send the collector back to my space. I didn't have enough essence to transfer it. Of course you didn't. Should I hide it in the room? Someone was on the stairs descending. I forced the plate inside my chest armor. Damn it! The hard leather was formed to my body. I sucked in my gut and stood as relaxed as I could as Adrian, Linus, Flans, and Brutus moved into the room. Who the fuck is Flans? Adrian looked on both sides of the stairs and asked, "Why are the bodies covered?" I spoke softly while holding in my gut. "Because I found their eyes staring at me creepy." Adrian snorted and shook his head. It gets easier. Did you find anything? I reached into my pocket and pulled out the coin purse. I only searched Elf and the dwarf. Just some coin. I tossed him the pouch. He caught it and tested the weight. Then he tossed it back to me. "Keep it. Castile will be here soon. You can stand guard in the street till she arrives and then go and get some rest. Constantine said you fought well." He chuckled. "He actually said you fought better than expected, which probably means you impress him." They started searching the bodies and the room again, and I went upstairs and into the street. It was still a long time until dawn, and oil street lamps gave the city a dull light. Matteo and Felix were flanking the entrance and at attention. I stood to one side. Matteo asked with interest, "Did you really take down 5 by yourself? That was what Adrian said." The collector was making me slightly uncomfortable, but it was manageable. I shifted slightly. It was all luck. I got one at the bottom of the stairs, and another was just waking up. The 5th one actually impaled herself on my blade rather than be captured. Felix whistled. 5 kills in one evening. We need to come up with a nickname for you. I then had to listen to the 2 toss nickname suggestions back and forth between them. When I tried to give my own input, they told me a person could not help choose their nickname. That is true. It had to be bestowed on them by another. Very true. Silent sheep? He's not. Maiden's thief? Pocket puncher? Hell yes. Ghoul? Night prince? Graceful fork? Foreign spear? Thundering demon? The names went on and on. I was confused as no one else in the company had a nickname I knew of. Mercifully, Castile returned with Constantine just moments later. She paused to address me. "Good work, Eric. You can go get some rest." Matteo and Felix started to move with me, and Constantine rasped, "Just Eric. You 2 remain here on guard." Aww. They entered the clothing shop and I walked away, leaving 2 very disappointed legionnaires. There were still about 4 hours left before dawn. As I walked, I finally had enough ether to move the collector back with the essences and could relax. I probably would not take such a risk again. At the villa, I found a swearing lurking in the kitchen. "Eric, there are rats in the cellar. The anti-vermin wards must have expired. I need help eliminating them." Oh, side quest! My jaw didn't work. I thought I was going to get some time to rest and study. "Come on, Eric. The bastards are eating the tubers and grains." I nodded reluctantly. "Do you want me to cut the tails off after I kill them and present them to you as proof, so you can grant me a reward?" I said, trying to sound cheerful about the quest offering. Why the fuck would I want rat tails? Do they eat rat tails where you're from? Lurkin sounded slightly mocking. "Just kill them and see where they are getting into the basement larder. I saw a mortar mixture in one of the outbuildings. Your reward will be not having to eat the meat chewed on by a rat." Why the fuck would I want rat tails? It's so good. That's so good. Oh. He went to get the mortar, and I went into the basement with a glowstone from my pocket. I heard them immediately, but they hid from my light. I searched the perimeter wall and found 2 holes in the base of the walls. I moved the casks out of the way to get easier access to both of them. How was I supposed to catch a rat? I walked through the room and saw glimpses of them as their tails disappeared. They were definitely in here. Lurkin returned with a bucket of the gravelly, powdery mixture. He inspected the 2 holes in the walls. This one we can plug with mortar. This one is the drain. The grate is missing. With anti-vermin wards, no one probably thought to patch this hole and replace the grate. He considered. I will let Calm know. He can bang out a replacement grate at the forge in the Citadel. Let's block it with the crate for now. We mix the mortar with water and fill the other hole. I have to start on breakfast. I'm sure you have the rat problem well in hand. He patted my back and went up the stairs before I could respond. I spent hours chasing rats in the basement, crushing 3, but I could still hear more of them. It was driving me insane. Eventually, I put a small pile of grain, cheese, and meat in the corner lit by a glowstone. I backed away to the extent of my dimensional space, 10 feet, and waited. I had regained enough ether to try this. 10 minutes later, the first cautious rat moved to the pile, and then a second. I queued up the space to send the rats to my dimensional space together. Both rats popped out of existence, and I felt intense backlash as my ether bottomed out. It was even more intense than when I took the man's heart 5 hours ago. I sat with a migraine, trying to figure things out. Anything alive appeared to have a resistance to being put into my dimensional space. Maybe that resistance didn't matter since my space affinity was so high. I always won the contest of wills. Was there a related mental attribute that played a role in resisting? Maybe resilience? Maybe the magical trait of ether resistance. I listened for a long time and did not hear anything. I walked up the stairs triumphantly with the 3 dead rats. Men were already getting breakfast from the kitchen as they returned from patrol. I was mocked as one demonic slayer of the Bardyradian army. The name that Felix and Matteo settled on was Loda Morte. It roughly meant washed away by death, or clean death. Lurkin consoled me and said it would only stick for a few days before everyone forgot about it. No way. I ate my fill of porridge topped with honeyed fruit, nuts and fruit, with thick bacon on the side. Not the usual strong efforts from our cook, but he had been busy with rats most of the morning. I ended up in my room after filling myself on the breakfast offering. I had one more thing I wanted to test. I waited anxiously for hours, and when my ether was half full, I opened the window and expelled the rats from my dimensional space. They fell 5 feet, were briefly stunned by the fall, but then scurried off. Well, that was very interesting. It barely took any ether to bring them out, and the rats lived. They were unharmed from their stay in my dimensional space. Ooh, so you can survive in there, at least for a time. At least a rat can. Chapter 39. Duplicitous nature. Duplicitous nature. As I watched the disoriented rat scurry away, I should have realized that the griffin egg I had collected meant I was capable of transporting live objects in my storage. Castile confirmed it was viable after I removed it, and I transported it for the first citizen. Interestingly, it did not deplete my ether when I placed the egg into my dimensional space. Nevertheless, it was reassuring to see the rat scurry away and to know the other griffin egg in my storage was likely viable. This opened up the possibility of moving an entire person or monster into my dimensional space, ensuring their survival upon retrieval. The lunch bell rang, and I had not gotten any sleep. I joined the kitchen line for sliced roast beef smothered in thick gravy with a side of candied carrots. I took my overflowing plate to the gardens, where we were scheduled to have weapon practice immediately afterward. Over the past week, Brutus had been assisting me with my spear techniques, and Constantine had been helping me with dual wielding. I suspected Constantine planned to have me practice with the short sword in my right hand and the parrying dagger in my left today. He continually alternated the weapons in each hand to improve my ambidexterity. As the company ate, Adrian and Delmar entered the gardens. Delmar announced, no weapons practice after the midday meal. His statement was initially met with cheers, though everyone knew it likely meant other duties were imminent. Instead, we're going to search every boarded up house in the upper city, he continued, causing the cheers to fade. The other Legion company is handling the lower city. Someone shouted, what are the lazy regulars doing? Monitoring the remaining citizens and guarding the wall. The Bardaradians have begun their march from the city of Guricas. Adrian retorted sharply. They will arrive at the walls in 3 days. This confirmed that what the dwarf woman had mentioned last night about the march starting today. Silence fell suddenly. The grim reality of our situation was setting. Everyone knew. Everyone knew the strategy was to hold up in the city, awaiting our noble rescuers to vanquish the besieged Bardaradians. A plan that sounded feasible on paper unless you were the ones containing the enemy's advance. Delmar calmed everyone and detailed the formation of 3 search teams of 8. My team would include Firth, Willie, Pavel, and Regis. We had only an hour before deployment, and I regretted not sleeping earlier that morning. I had been too anxious waiting for my ether to recharge, and I would be operating on pure adrenaline through the evening and the overnight patrol. Linus pulled me aside. Eric, make a run down to the city. There should be a shipment of potions at the Legion Hall. The displacement mage opened the portal this morning. Retrieve them for distribution among the 3 groups. Expect 17 minor healing potions, 3 major healing potions, 1 rack of healing salve, 1 rack of stamina potions, and 4 water purification potions. Castile has paid for all these, so ensure you receive the full order. Hurry. I quickly donned my armor and made a run to the Legion Hall in the lower city. Upon arriving, I wasn't even breathless as I made my way to the warehouse at the back of the building. Unlike when picking up weapons, acquiring potions, and now also foodstuffs was strictly controlled. 2 civilians were behind the desk. I'm here for Castile's shipment of potions, I declared. 1 man retrieved the racks. The first small rack contained all 4 water purification potions. The next, a full rack of 10 stamina potions. The third was filled with 10 minor healing potions. Next, the healing salve rack, all 10 present. But when we reached the 5th sack, I inhaled sharply. It had only 5 minor healing potions. I was missing 2 minor and all 3 major healing potions. He slid the logbook across for me to sign off on the delivery, which listed the order as complete. I objected. There are some potions missing. I need 2 more minor and 3 more major healing potions. He reviewed the ledger and recounted the potions he had brought out. Turning to his colleague, he said, Marks, do you know about this? We're short 2 minor and 3 major healing potions. Mark scrutinized the ledger, counted the vitals, and compared them to the ledger entries in an overly deliberate manner. Eventually, he stated flatly, No. Looking up at me, he suggested, Check with the other company commander. He was here when the shipment arrived and took his complete order. I was skeptical. Reviewing the ledger once more, I pressed. These signatures confirm the potions were delivered. You logged them into the storeroom, correct? Then please retrieve my full order of potions. I need to return to the upper city promptly. Marks frowned, displeased. You might want to speak with Mage Gregor. I recall seeing him take some potions from this shipment. Annoyed, I demanded, Where can I find the mage? The first clerk, still unnamed, advised, unarmed. He is at the Cock and Hen down the street, the area's nicest inn. His tone was apologetic. Should I have feared confronting a mage? Perhaps, but I consolidated the remaining potions into my space in one swift action and stormed out without signing the ledger, ignoring protests. The cock and hen marking my asigna, featuring a rooster standing over two hens, was easy to locate. Inside, I recognized several familiar faces from Duranda's company, now under Gregor's command. Gregor was engrossed in maps and books at a table. Approaching him, I declared so all could hear. The warehouse staff mentioned you mistakenly took Castile's potions. Gregor evaluated me coolly. There was no mistake. I simply reclaimed the potions I supplied for Duranda's ill-fated mission. As he cannot re-imbue me posthumously, Castile, who proposed the exploration, should compensate me, he explained. He explained calmly, as if it were perfectly logical. Our interaction drew the attention of the room's legionnaires. Frustrated and realizing this might have been Linus' intent in sending me, I glanced around at the intrigued soldiers. Opting not to escalate further, I resolved. I'll convey your explanation to Mage Castile. His slight twitch as I turned to leave was telling. I briskly walked back to the villa to find Castile discussing strategy with Adrian, Delmar, and Constantine, who each led a search team. Delmar queried, "Do you have the potions, Eric?" "Mostly," I responded, turning to Castile. "Mage Gregor claims you owe him for the potions and took 2 minor and all 3 major healing potions before I could retrieve them." Castile's expression darkened, shadowy tendrils flickering around her. "I will handle this matter myself. Proceed with the searches. Adrian, I will join your team on Fortuna Street shortly." She departed with resolute strides. Ooh. Constantine muttered, "Hope neither ends up dead." He addressed me. "Eric, let's distribute the potions you managed to secure and get moving." We quickly allocated the potions between Adrian and Delmar's teams, and then I collected my weapons and shield, opting for a medium-sized round shield, given the potentially perilous nature of house-to-house searches. As we set out, I walked beside Constantine and inquired, "Did anyone intercept the enemy reportedly using the aqueduct to enter the city last night?" He shook his head. The city guard monitored the route, which is secured by a gate, and confirmed one passed through. We also checked 2 other businesses last night without finding anything. They spoke of using the sewer system, but all access points are securely gated and guarded. The city guard plans to search the sewers tomorrow. Pondering whether the enemy might have tried to mislead us, I asked, "Could they have heard us coming and laid a false trail?" Constantine laughed. "If they had heard us, we wouldn't have caught them off guard, and we'd likely both be dead." The elf was skilled in magic, as indicated by their equipment, which Castile noted. "You weren't the only one fortunate last night. Things could have turned out much worse had I not eliminated the mage first." The dwarf appeared to be their commander, evidenced by a distinctive tattoo on her forearm. Agent suspects they intended to sabotage one of the gates. "What do you think was their objective?" I asked the veteran. After a moment's thought, Constantine speculated. "They probably planned to target someone specific, one of our mages or a general. The sewers run under the whole city, so maybe they planned to use them to reach their target." He reached inside his armor and pulled out a small bag. The soldiers didn't yield much in terms of essence. They must have been dead too long, but it was unusual the mage did not yield something. "I have 2 power and 1 dexterity from Castile, all minor essences. You killed the majority of them. Which 2 do you want?" I examined the 2 dark purple spears and single dark yellow one he offered. Choosing the yellow and 1 purple, I knew Constantine expected me to consume one immediately. Aware that it hadn't been long since I ingested the Apex Reasoning essence, I discreetly pocketed the Dexterity essence, pretending to consume Power essence. I actually stored it in my dimensional space. Ooh, smooth. Constantine, believing I had followed suit, ingested his own essence and quipped, "I would have preferred the dexterity, but clearly you needed it more." He began our search at a nearby shop, prying off the boards and inspecting the premises. I distributed glowstones to everyone to make the process quicker. I was unsure if I would get them back after mentioning they were from Durandus. Firth's argument was they should have been sent to the Legion Hall warehouse and available to everyone. So we argued that I had saved them the trip to the lower city. Everyone agreed with this argument, and Constantine looked to be sympathetic, but smirked and kept the one I lent him as well. Glowstones were a bit of a luxury item, at a little over a gold coin each. I now had 4 remaining. Our theme methodically searched 2 residences, a cobbler shop, a butcher, and a furniture maker without discovering anything of note. As darkness approached, Constantine declared, "Let's return to the villa for dinner before continuing." This elicited some light-hearted groans. Everyone knew our day was far from over. While traversing the orchards on our way back, a city guard hurriedly approached. "Legionnaires! Urgent news! The displacement mage has been attacked and killed." I looked at Constantine, whose face clearly read, "I told you so." This was a severe blow. Displacement mages were rare, typically 1 per major city, and essential for operating the portal stones that connected distant locations. "Let's move. It seems they couldn't wait to isolate us from the Empire by disrupting our portal network," Constantine bellowed, leading the charge after the anxious guard to the scene. A murder of a mage! I always have to remind myself, how do I usually do it? I usually read 1 or more, right? I should read 40 as well. I'm just checking to make sure. It's been so long. What? Oh, I wrote that wrong. Oops. I didn't even realize. Or what? What is this? What is... Yeah. Yes, I do read 1 more. I wrote that I read chapter 32 times in my both of my previous videos. I have to change that. What? Or did I? No. It's so weird. Okay, yes, but I will read 1 more. The last chapter. Chapter 40. Massacre. We ran at the hustling guard's pace to the upper city's far side. For some reason, everyone formed up into ranks as we jogged. Willie loudly asked a question for everyone to hear. Where were his legionnaire guards? Firth grunted. He should have had at least a dozen. My guess is they are all dead as well. Constantine, leading us, shouted back. He had 15. I checked this morning and warned them of the enemy in the city. We turned onto a wide street with opulent buildings made of white marble highlighted with black granite. Oh, that sounds nice. We had not patrolled this part of the city, and the polished stone made for an impressive sight. Even the road was made from textured grey granite. Granite? Regis muttered, Damn, in my next life, I want to be a portal mage. If Janus bestows you that blessing for the life of debauchery you have lived, I might as well not try to be pious, I don't know these words any longer, Pavel grunted. I understand the message now. Who is Janus? I asked no one in particular. Firth responded, You don't have gods in your lands, Eric? Janus is our god of rebirth, the god of endings and new beginnings. I had heard of some old Roman gods being worshipped and had even passed by a few temples in the cities, but I had never heard people openly worshipping them before. Maybe in a world of magic, their miracles were less important. Even though the guard leading us was out of breath, we could all talk easily at his slow pace. Damn, burn! I asked, How many gods do you worship in Telia? Firth barked with mirth. You don't worship the gods. You show some respect and ask for favors. Okay. Willie added to my knowledge. There are maybe 30 faces of divinity the First Legion brought with them, but the only true god you will ever see is an ancient dragon delivering its vengeance on the city. There were murmurs of agreement. We slowed to a walk, as we could see a number of our Legion companies milling outside one of the residences. There did not appear to be any current threat, as they were just guarding the building and keeping people away. Constantine went inside, and we talked to the other members. It's a bloodbath in there. Maybe even a massacre? They broke through the wall in the basement, Lucian said to us. Orson added, foul magic, just ripped the men apart. Firth asked seriously, how many of ours are dead? The mage and all of his men, maybe 20 in total when you include his family. But there are so many body parts around it's hard to count, Orson said. Wow. Did they kill any of the Bardiradians? Willie asked. Olsen nodded. 18, I think. Maybe 19. They retreated back into the sewers after they killed the mage. Constantine came outside. Eric, you're needed inside. I started walking confused. Which potion? Constantine shook his head and said, Castile is going into the sewers. Go see her. I swore in my mind. Every time there was a dangerous mission, I was involved. I might have been better off lugging rocks at a quarry to pay back the farmers. I might have ended up crippled, but at least I would have been alive. I entered the house and passed the entryway. Blood and gore made the floor slick and slippery. I paused at the carnage that covered the once gorgeous polished stone walls and floors. They were not kidding. Bodies were ripped apart at the torso. The sight didn't faze me as much as it would have just a month ago. I was immune to the metallic smell of blood, but the dead eyes of the men still gave me the chills, and I avoided making eye contact. I was waved into the basement and found Adrian, Delmar, and Castile talking by an opening in the wall that emitted a foul odor. Large stones from the wall were strewn on the floor. By the rancid smell, it was definitely an access to the sewers. Castile looked up, and I dreaded what she was going to say. Eric, I need you to harvest essence from the men here. Just the enemies. I do not have time to do it myself. Here. She handed me her essence collector, and I was confused. Happy would be a better word, as I was not going into the sewers. I turned the disc over in my hands. It was twice the diameter of mine. Castile snapped. Do you not know how to use it? Oh my god, please. Panic welled up. Was this a test? Did she suspect I had taken the essence from the others? I played dumb. Well, maybe she thinks that because he was with Durandus and he saw him use it a lot, he should know? No, I have never used this. I indicated the device I held. The only magical item I have ever used was the translation amulet in training. Castile studied me for just a moment, her eyes narrowing slightly. Were you able to charge the amulet? I nodded. It is the same. Just keep the center of the collector between the heart and head. Rest it on the body, but keep it level. If you don't, the formed essence will roll off the disc. She did not give any more of an explanation as she went into the opening, followed by Delmar, Adrian, Constantine, and 2 members of the city guard. There were 3 bodies in the basement, and I moved to the first one. He had been wearing fine chain mail, but it had not saved him from a spear to the heart. Not that using a spear inside the confines of a house would have been my first choice, right? I laid the disc and was interrupted as Firth came down the stairs. Did they already head in? Castile was leading them into the sewers. I pointed at the destroyed wall. I won't let them have fun without me, Firth grumbled as he made his way to the opening. If Firth thought trudging through other people's shit was fun, I needed new friends. No. The other men started moving the bodies outside. I used the collector on the enemies and ended with 1 apex strength essence, 3 major essences, 1 each of power, endurance, and quickness, and 10 lesser essences that were a mix of strength, constitution, and endurance. I put all of them into a bag. 14 of 18 bodies had given an essence. Damn. I then helped move the bodies. Outside, there was a cart to take them away. Willie noted that dead bodies in a city during a siege spread a disease, so we needed to get them buried outside the city before the enemy arrived and surrounded the walls. I noticed Mage Gregor walk toward us on the road with 9 of his men at his back, walking in a 3x3 square. Oh, here comes trouble. Orson, our company's other scout, went to talk with him, since all our leadership was knee-deep in shit. There were two. Sometimes how this novel is written is just... I love it. They were too far away to overhear, and I continued back into the residence to remove more bodies. I asked Willie, do we have to clean up the blood too? No. When Castile returns, she'll hire some citizens to do it. The Empire owns this building. The displacement mage just got to live here as part of his extensive compensation, Willie said while we carried the top and bottom half of a body outside on a bedsheet. The residence was extremely lavish from what I had seen during my time in the Italian Empire. The furniture was exotic wood. The library was filled with leather-bound books. Every room had a woven rug, and the bedrooms looked almost modern to my eyes. Of course, everything was marred by blood and body parts. Well, it's so beautiful in here. When we got outside, Mage Gregor was getting animated. And from the wisps of the conversation, he did not sound happy that Mage Castile had traveled into the sewers to search for the assassins. I think he was mostly worried about being the only mage left to defend the city from the approaching army. On the next trip, we went upstairs and grabbed the last body. I recognized the man. It was the third judge in the tribunal I attended when I returned with the remains of Duranda's men. It looked like he was killed defending his family, Willie muttered. I noticed the bloodstains of bodies already removed by others. We loaded him into a bedsheet and carried him outside with the others. 4 of Gregor's legionnaires went into the basement as we brought the mage's body to the cart. Gregor left with the rest of his men. I still had Castile's essence collector on my back and was curious to know what the mage would yield, but it seemed Castile's policy was only to harvest enemy, not our own. I asked Orson, who was cursing up a storm after Mage Gregor left. Orson, should I harvest all the bodies for essence? Castile only told me to collect the enemy. A highly irritated Orson replied, Castile believes if you take the essence from a person, they are weaker when they are reborn into their next life. If you want to give your essence to your family when you die, just let her know. She will arrange it if she can. He entered the residence, following Gregor's men. 12 men of the company stood covered in blood while civilians took the cars away. There was some uncertainty, so I offered. How about 6 of us remain here and the rest go to the villa to eat and clean up? When you are fed and clean, come back and relieve us. I picked the men I knew to return first. Brutus, Matteo, Felix, Pavel, Regis, and Willie. It felt awkward being the least experienced person in the group to give an order, or maybe it was a suggestion. They followed it and we were left. I told 3 men, Dante, Benito, and Linus, to go to the basement and stand guard over the passage. I remained outside with 2 legionnaires I had not talked much with, Blaze and Chaos. Blaze was the best archer in the company, and Chaos was not too far behind. Chaos was also deadly accurate with the pilum, out to 50 paces. We stood in the sun while brushing away flies that were trying to land and lay eggs on our blood-soaked uniforms. Oh, that's so gross. Oh, that's so gross. No, don't do that. Chaos asked, did you actually kill 5 men to cause this too? There was a note of disbelief in his voice. I had learned that Constantine was probably the best raw fighter in the company. No, just 4. The last one killed herself, I replied, trying to sound modest. Blaze interjected. She was so dazzled by your skill, she just jumped on your blade. Maybe we should put you at the front of an army, and you can conquer the world for the Empire. The great Lotta Morte. She was the last one standing and did not want to be captured. I said softly, reflecting that I did not think I would be brave enough to sacrifice myself in such a manner. I had to respect the dwarf woman. Silence reigned until Matteo and Felix came strolling down the road. I realized Blaze and Chaos to return to the villa. I released Blaze and Chaos. Blaze and Chaos to return to the villa. I guess I was somehow in charge. Oh, look at you. Brutus, Pavel, and Regis returned next, and I sent them to the basement. Oh my god. Whoa. Hiccup. I've attacked. There. Brutus, Pavel, and Regis returned next, and I sent them to the basement. Willie came a half hour later, eating a large bun sold on carts in the city. He handed me one from inside his armor with a big smile. I gave him a curt thank you as I left. It was late evening, and I thought I deserved to take a side trip to the baths. I'd only walked maybe 50 yards when a shout came from behind me. Castile's back! I froze mid-step and slowly returned. Oh, like head down, like... As they emerged from below, we all kept our distance. The smell was horrendous. Where is everyone? Castile asked. I answered from a safe distance. I sent half the men back to wash and eat. When they returned, the others went. I was the last one. I pulled the pouch and held my breath as I approached and handed her the essences and her collector before backing away. Safe distance. I then continued. 14 essences from the 18 dead men. Castile nodded. 14 of 18. A good ratio for how long they were dead. We were very unfortunate only to yield 3 of 7 from yesterday. She held my eyes, and I sensed her evaluating me. She broke the stare and announced to the men who did not travel with her. They collapsed part of the sewer, so we could not pursue. They have a very strong air mage with them. We will need to continue searching the city until we find them. We have 3 days before the enemy surrounds the city, and we can't have that air mage inside our walls waiting to strike. She turned and walked down the road with her shin high, like her shit didn't stink. The other urine and feces-soaked members followed, and I was glad that I had my own room at the villa. Oh, right. I took a different path, not wanting to walk in their wake. I headed toward the lower city baths, just in case our leaders thought to stop in the upper city baths. What? I took a different path, not wanting to walk in their wake. I headed toward the lower city baths, just in case our leaders thought to stop in the upper city baths. Ah, lower and upper, okay. Yeah. What a return. What a return. I'm so happy to be back. This was fun. I have missed this. I missed this novel. I missed doing this with you guys. It's fun. I'm so happy. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's nice. Happy to be here again. And hopefully Eric will be able to take a bath next time. So thank you so much for coming to the stream. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. Eric will be officially giving orders soon, right? Right. He's taking it upon himself. You know, I don't need the promotion. I will just take it. Now you will listen to me, the least experienced person. The least experienced person. But I mean, they did. So I'm like, well, go Eric. Yippee! Yes, yippee! We back. But tomorrow's Wednesday, so tomorrow we're not back. But this was so fun. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. It was worth the wait for these chapters. They were fun. But now I will go off and edit this, upload this, and then play WoW for the rest of the day, because that's all I've been doing. I'm in love with WoW. Oh, definitely. I think she suspected that from the start. I think everyone did, and then she kind of like saved him in the when they were like, oh, when they were talking about it, and she bought the story. I don't think she fully bought the story, but she was like, yeah, trust Eric, you know. And now she's like, bitch, I know you're up to some shit. That's what it seems like, at least. So, okay. for some Wawas. Well, thank you so much for coming to the stream. Happy to be back. Hope you are as well and that you had a nice summer. Now it's August, it's almost fall already. But it's still gonna be 30 degrees tomorrow here. It's insane. What is this country? What is Germany? It's not Sweden, that's for sure. But feel free and go and follow me on Twitch, YouTube. We have Instagram, we have a TikTok, and you can join the Discord where I do post my thoughts on every Shadow Slave chapter that I read. And there are a lot of other things in there as well. Go talk to people, converse, be nice. And that will be it for this time. And I will see you next time. Have a nice rest of your day. Hey då! Bye bye!